Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the professor, and this is the moment of truth.
We can't go to there. So I go, you got to go to one where there's Planet of the Apes, man. We're going to go see Planet of the Apes. So I look on the iPhone app, and it says, okay, take me to this one. And the guy goes, okay. I go, is that in a good neighborhood? He's like, oh, yeah. Guy barely speaks English. He takes us there. We get out, and we're giggling. Oh, we're going to go see Planet of the Apes. We walk into Planet of the Apes. We walked into Africa, dude. We walked in the door, and there was no white people.
I did not, nor would I ever say that black people are apes, but it sure fucking sounded like that. And I immediately afterwards said, that's a racist thing to say. Planet of the Apes wasn't even in Africa. I was just saying there's a lot of black people there. I did not, nor would I ever say that black people are apes. I was just saying there's a lot of black people there. I did not, nor would I ever say that black people are apes. I was just saying there's a lot of black people there.
There's Uncle Joe, and his brain is kind of slow at the junction, racist junction. There's an old saying that when you're in it up to your neck, that's the time to keep your mouth shut. Now, for the longest time, those of us in the black media have been telling you that Joe Rogan is a mouth-frothing racist. He's been for a freaking long time. You didn't need to wait until this last weekend when NWord put his video out there and put him on blast. You didn't need to wait till that. We've been saying it for the longest time. Joe Rogan has simply been caught out. That's all that's happened here. Oh, he likes to throw the N-word around. Yeah, all the time. Oh, he likes to tell jokes about when he went to Philadelphia, he went to a predominantly black movie theater and it was Planet of the Apes because there were all these black people there. Rogan is racist and he can't deny it. You heard it yourself. I was saying there's a lot of black people there, which is exactly what he claimed that he didn't say, remember? He was just so used to getting away with it for so long. I guess he figured that somehow he was flying under the radar, or that people were giving him a pass, or that basically he wasn't getting no. Come on, you got $100 million deal for what? I don't know. But yeah, he was on the radar, just a matter of not enough people had gotten together. They hadn't aggregated. And he gets cornered and he runs around in rhetorical circles, sounding crazier by the minute. Just stuttering and stammering. He was just caught up in his words. He's trying to deny it, but it was so blatant. He can't deny what he said. There's no way you can put the right spin on it. The more you talk about it, the worse it sounds. When I said it looked like Planet of the Apes, that wasn't because there were black people there. I said it because there's a lot of black people there. He didn't know whether to spit or go blind. Racist Rogan was caught out, plain and simple. He was doing so much white-splaining it was ridiculous. And of course, there's the other headlines where he got caught making all these other remarks about Africans, talking about running around barefoot and such. This guy is a racist. Every time he says something regarding black people, whether they're in the U.S. or in Africa, is always something racist. Oh, but I'm sure that he didn't mean it. His defenses were pathetic. First, he tried to claim that he didn't say it, when we all clearly heard him say it. Then he tried to hide behind black comedians like Red Fox and Richard Pryor.
I thought as long as it was in context, people would understand what I was doing. Like that context was part of the clip we were talking about Red Fox, how Red Fox said that word on television in the 1970s and how times have changed so much since then. Or about how Richard Pryor used it as one of the titles of one of his albums.
You know, I'm surprised that he didn't try to use the Don Imus defense. Well, what about all those rappers? Why isn't no one saying anything about them? They were the ones who made me do it. But he couldn't stand on his own. He had to try to find some black people to hide behind. The last refuge of the racist. He tries to blame the people that he was being racist against for his racism. Trying to claim Richard Pryor, he had a comedy album with the N-word in its name. That was in 1974. But since Joe Rogan doesn't actually know anything about Richard Pryor, he predictably is unaware that only 8 years later, after Richard Pryor took a trip to Africa, he talked about why he stopped using the N-word.
I was leaving and I was sitting in the hotel and a voice said to me, said, "Look around, what do you see?" And I said, "I see all colors of people doing everything, you know." And the voice said, "Do you see any niggas?" I said, "No." And I said, "You know why? Because there aren't any." And it hit me like a shot, man. I started crying and shit. I was sitting there, I said, yeah, I've been here 3 weeks. I haven't even said it. I haven't even thought it. And it made me say, oh my God, I've been wrong. I said, I ain't gonna never call another black man a nigger.
Funny how that part never comes up in Joe Rogan's memories. Not that he would care. You could have the ghost of Richard Pryor rise from his grave, smack him upside the head, and shoot a couple of expletives at him, and he'd still say, oh, I didn't remember. So trying to hide behind dead black comedians, that won't wash. The old white supremacist dodge, well, I heard some black people who had said it once, that ain't gonna work. And of course you had the usual suspects, the white right-wingers, and a few casual racists who would themselves claim not to be part of the white right. They were trying to defend this clown. Obviously the world's worst-smelling vagrant, Pool, was whining that Joe Rogan said he was sorry, and people are still piling on him. See, this is why it doesn't make sense to apologize to these people. Tim Fool has so much wax in his ears and crap in his brain that he has no idea that nobody said they wanted Rogan to apologize. Nobody said that. No one at all. And that's the real problem. That's why he's using a straw man. Joe Rogan was giving an apology that absolutely nobody asked for. Where was anyone saying, oh, Rogan, you gotta apologize for this? People said, apologies for hell. You gotta be gone. That's the white supremacists trying to do their Jedi mind trick. You guys got an apology and you're still mad. Oh, we didn't ask for an apology. You did ask for an apology. Well, I guess we did. No, nobody asked for an apology. People have been saying for weeks that they want Joe Rogan to be fired. Nobody said you need to apologize for your vaccine remarks. They said, no, just go ahead and get off Spotify. All the money that Spotify makes off of black musicians, and they give it to racist Rogan. Now, what does that tell you? It's the same thing it always is. Michael Jordan was almost never the highest paid player in the NBA for the time he was there. In fact, if memory serves, and I'm not a sports head, so I can't say for sure, but if memory serves, he wasn't the highest paid player who was in the NBA. There were some white guys who were making more money than he was. And the same thing goes for Venus and Serena Williams, especially Serena. Yeah, whenever it comes to black folks who are in sports, they always try to make sure there's at least one or two white people who make more, or at the very least make the same thing. All that money generated by black effort, and it's going into the coffers of white racists. The last couple of days, people have only been saying that Spotify has to dump Joe Rogan. Nobody was saying we want an apology from him. Nobody wants anything from him. But this is the white right acting like the pathetic broken records they are. They only have the same one or two talking points. They've never bothered to update their material. So even when they make no sense, these clowns say it anyway because that's all they can think of. It's like when you have one of those sci-fi movies where the evil computer AI has a glitch and keeps repeating the same gibberish when it makes no sense. That's what these right-wingers are like. Now, there have been a number of names that have come up recently in relation to racist Rogan. One of them was The Rock. People are asking, hey, Dwayne Johnson with your black father, that he is more and more trying to distance himself from. He's talking about them Polynesian roots, ain't talking about them Afro-Canadian roots so much. You had to have Don Winslow, a white man, going on Twitter telling this guy whose father is black and who likes to claim that every chance he gets whenever he's in front of us, he has to remind this biracial black man that, hey, look at all this N-word stuff that your buddy Rogan is doing. When he realized that this controversy wasn't a tempest in a teapot and that Joe Rogan was now going to be more of a liability than an asset, all of a sudden Dwayne Johnson's doing a 180. Now he is, because the controversy ain't dying down and people are looking at him funny now. Now that people are looking at him, all of a sudden, I suddenly realize I can read. And in yet another example of why washed-up rappers from the 90s need to stay in obscurity, Willie D, and I'm convinced the D stands for dumb, his pictures with Joe Rogan have come back to haunt him and all the praise and defense that he's been giving this clown. Oh, well, Joe Rogan, he ain't no racist now. You better watch. I'm trying to get my next mixtape on Amazon. I need some people to buy this thing. Willie D went from writing songs about coons to being one. So you got some black folks who apparently want to use Joe Rogan's platform basically as nothing more than any other podcast. But this is why you've always heard me say that we don't need to be chasing up behind any black celebrities. A lot of black folks think that if you glom onto or get the support of some black person who the white media is talking about, somehow that's going to boost your profile. Not by very much, and not in ways that you would want. The problem with these black celebrities who are trying to be in or who might marginally be in the cheese and croissant circuit is they don't move the same way we move. They're not doing the same things that we do. They always have some manager or agent or representative or PR person, almost always white, and they certainly got a bunch of white studio and network executives who are telling them what they can and cannot say. And they know that all it takes is just one wrong step. And you ain't gonna be like Joe Rogan. They ain't defending you. You're gonna be gone. Look at Whoopi Goldberg. Whoopi Goldberg thought that she was on the team. Why she even, for her stage name, she even decided to adopt a Jewish name for her stage name. You cannot name any black person you can think of, certainly not in entertainment, who has done more for or been a better representative of the Jewish people than Whoopi Goldberg. You can't think of any black person who has, but all it took was she didn't even deny the Holocaust or question it. You had her basically trying to show how high-minded she was, and for her, that's a bridge too far. But all it took was for her to say the Holocaust was not a racial crime. It was man's inhumanity to man. Now, where in there did she say that no crime occurred? Where in there did she say that nobody was harmed or wasn't as bad as all that? You had one person who said that it was racial. You had Whoopi Goldberg saying it's man's inhumanity to man. That's a distinction without a difference. And yet, for some strange reason, we're watching Whoopi Goldberg being dragged through the town square. And for what? She agreed that the Holocaust happened. It was a crime. You have basically one person saying tomato, the other person saying tomato. But what's the deal here? What the deal happens to be is there's confusion on her part, and it's understandable, because you've also had a number of notable Jewish pundits like Stephen Miller and people like Andrew Breitbart and others. When it comes time to talk about things regarding race, they do not differentiate themselves from Aryans. In fact, people like Stephen Miller and the late Andrew Breitbart, those guys, they reflect the exact same racist talking points that you would get from any white Aryan resistance type. So why is it then that Whoopi Goldberg's the one getting dragged? See, Spotify is still trying to decide what, if anything, ought to be done about Joe the racist Rogan. But as far as Disney's concerned, they know full well what could have been done is have Whoopi Goldberg give a statement clarifying, quote unquote, bring on the head of the ADL or whatever other Jewish organization you want, give them a segment on The View. I sincerely doubt that they would say no. Whoopi Goldberg gives a mea culpa and that's it. And the problem happens to be with not doing it that way, you've made it where the most high-profile black entertainer who has been doing everything that she could to represent Jewish issues and Jewish identity in her own right, now you're going to have a lot of black folks who are, instead of doing the we will agree with what it is that's being said, these black celebrities being who or what they are, they're walking on eggshells as it is, they're terrified of their own shadows. They're just going to decide they're not going to say anything whatsoever. Nothing whatsoever. So Joe Rogan has the full support of Spotify. No matter what he says, he's got their support. Whoopi Goldberg, she ain't got ABC's support. Joe Rogan has a long-standing history of racial tirades and slurs and mockery. We're going to stand by Joe Rogan. Meanwhile, Whoopi Goldberg, who has done more than any other black celebrity or black person you can think of, including Sammy Davis Jr., to show her solidarity with the Jewish community, she's getting horsewhipped and people aren't even really sure why it's happening, just that it is for some reason. But part of the reason why this is happening probably has something to do with the fact that this is the same ABC that was forced to have to dump Roseanne Barr. So that being the case, perhaps this is the balancing of that little equation. Whenever there's some white person, some white executive who's been caught out for a sexual scandal, they got to drag a black person's name into it. And if they can't drag a black person's name into it, they're going to be looking to later on try to hold some black person up as their trophy prize. We got to publicly flog this one. It's like what I was telling you about with the murderer, Jason Van Dyke. They failed to put those 16 counts of aggravated assault on him for every bullet that he fired at Laquan McDonald's corpse. But when it came to Jussie Smollett, the same Chicago PD said, we're going to charge him with 16 counts of perjury or 16 counts of making a false accusation, because it was right after Jason Van Dyke had been charged. So this was the Chicago PD trying to do that mess. These white supremacists are always doing the exact same thing. They're always trying to find some way that whenever they take an L on something, we got to strike back immediately. It's got to be something so they can say, wink and a nod, see, we got it, we stuck it to those Negroes. But we already know that these racist so-called comedians, they're not making jokes at all. It's probably because none of them are funny. These guys are not funny. Joe Rogan's not funny. You cannot show me anything that scumbag has said that would even make me crack a smile. And it ain't just because he's been high as a kite and dumb as a brick for all of his freaking podcasts. The guy's not funny. He ain't a comedian. He couldn't make a classroom full of 10-year-olds even giggle if you filled the room with laughing gas. The guy is not funny. He's not a comedian. But then again, his so-called audience, they don't look to him for comedy any more than they look to that from Howard Stern. If Howard Stern was busy making jokes at white people's expense, do you think that the brain-dead inbreds who claim that they love him so much, you think those guys would be following him? Hell no. Oh, they're absolutely rabid in their support as long as the white comedian is making jokes at black people's expense. Oh yeah, as long as the comedy is making sure that it makes fun of black people, then that's just fun. Oh, he's very edgy. I like this guy. Okay, well, do you like Dave Chappelle? Oh, I like Dave Chappelle. Oh, you like the material that Dave Chappelle does about racist white people? Well, no, not that stuff, not so much. But the stuff he says about those LGBT, those trans folk, he's not going to bend the knee. Oh, I just love that. So their support for Dave Chappelle is conditional. Only when they think they can use it to their interests. But don't let anybody lie to you and tell you that these clowns are just joking. Whether it's the Joe Rogans or the Steven Crowders, these scumbags are not joking. They're not kidding. They're serious. And so are we. Joe Rogan and that racist gaggle of morons that he considers his audience, they're finding out that when you decide that you're going to be ridiculing black people, we're the ones who will wind up getting the last laugh. And that won't be a joke either. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. Cloudwalker Z, CJ Link, Miss Debbie, Loke Thies, and Daryl Bledsoe. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.